Hello, this is Ashi from Crafting with Ashi and welcome to this video. This is the card we're making today. I like it, it's super cute. I love the sentiment, you know, let your dreams soar, and all these little hot air balloons. So let me show you how I did it. Supplies you're going to need: your card base is Night of Navy, and this is standard A6 card base, so that's an A4 sheet cut in half and then folded in half. And then I've got a piece here of Seaside Spray, and this measures 14.35 centimetres by 10 centimetres. So let's start stamping. And the stamp set we're going to use is this one called Above the Clouds, and we're going to be using these little hot air balloons here, the sentiment, and this one here, and of course the little basket as well. So we're going to start with the background, which I'm going to be using these little trio of hot air balloons. You can cut these up, and normally I mostly would have, but I'm wary that retirement will have happened by the time this video goes live actually, but it hasn't happened when I've made the video, because I make it usually about 2 weeks beforehand, and if I want to sell the set I don't really want to sell it if it's all cut up, so bearing in mind that it might retire in a few weeks time, I didn't want to cut it up, so I'm going to just be stamping it as is, and we're going to stamp it all over the background. And I've got glue on the back of my block. I need a bit of a wash, I think. So we're just going to stamp everywhere. Let me bring my ink pad back in again, and we're just going to make sure it's always inked up nicely, and we're going to stamp randomly. All over the background, coming on and off the page when need be, to give a little bit of interest. And now what I'm going to do is, I've got places here where I just want one stamp, so all I'm going to do is just take my tissue quickly and take away where I don't want both stamps. So I only stamp the two like that. Okay, and this time I'm just going to ink up the one stamp here and just make sure these two are properly clean, so there's no ghost impressions, like that. And yeah, that'll do, I think. So set that aside, and I'm just going to put this aside for a second, come back to it, because I want to do all my stamping on one go. So I've got here a piece of what do you call this, Whisper White, and we're going to be stamping first our large balloon, hot air balloon. So in this corner will be fine. Okay, so set that aside, and then I'm going to also stamp my sentiment here. I've smudged that, so let's try again. Find another piece of card, another spot. Yeah, much better. Okay, so set that aside. And then we just need to get out, I forgot to get out our little basket, which is titchy. It's only that little size of a stamp, really small. So I'm just going to get a titchy block to match it, if I can find it. Yep, here we go. And just ink that up, and anywhere will do for this because it's so small. There we go. Okay, so that's all our stamping done. So we can close up our ink pad now, and we can get on and do some colouring. So I'm going to be using my Stampin' blends to colour in. That's why I use Memento to stamp it out. And the colours I'm going to use mainly are Seaside Spray Light and Dark, which are these two here, but I will accent it maybe with some Night of Navy. And then for the basket I'm going to be using the Crumb Cake. So I'm going to start colouring, and I'll put some music on and put you on fast forward, and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so I've done all the colouring in, as you can see here. I did it with the Seaside Spray as the main colour, and then I highlighted it with some Night of Navy, and then I've done all the little baskets with Crumb Cake. I don't think it's that bad. And then of course I coloured in my hot air balloon, and I changed my mind a few times when I was colouring in about what I wanted to do. So you'll see that in the video. Now we're going to punch everything out, and we've got here the matching punch, which is the hot air balloon punch. And we're going to punch out first our hot air balloon. So, whoops, just get it lined up, take your time, don't feel pressurized to get it done. And then I'm going to stamp out the sentiment using the hot air balloon as well. It's getting caught in the punch, so let's get rid of that. Okay, and we're going to have it coming up from the bottom, so you don't need to worry about the fact that it hasn't punched all the way to the bottom. I'm just going to take this bit out to do our basket, which is easier said than done because it's such a tiny piece. Now let's get rid of this extra here and just slip it into the punch where we want it. Need to get rid of, I know I should cut it rather, but tearing will do the same job, and I don't know where my scissors are at the moment, so tearing it is, just for this little piece here. There we go. Okay, and then I've got some of this, and this is our this is Blueberry Bushel, and this is one of the family packs of paper, and I'm just going to scrap, and I'm just going to use this to mat. So I thought I'd use up my scraps, which is always a good thing. Now let's get all our bits together and get rid of all of this other rubbish so we don't get confused. But it doesn't take a lot to confuse me, I can tell you that. There we go. That's all the rubbish got rid of. So let's reset. We've got our sentiment, our matte piece there, and we've got our little basket as well. So we're doing okay. Alright, so let's bring back our stamped image here and start sticking things down before we lose them. So I'm just going to put this with some snail. And as you can see, actually, when you use ink on cardstock, you know, on colour cardstock as opposed to Whisper White, although it does seep through, it doesn't seep through as badly as it does on Whisper White. So that's just something for you to know. Though I would always matte anything I've coloured in with alcohol inks, whether they were Stampin' blends, whatever they might be, because all alcohol inks bleed. It's just the nature of an alcohol ink. Right, so we're going to stick this one up on some dimensionals, and here are my dimensionals. So let's give it a few, wallop these quickly on. I want this to stick nicely and have even dimensions, so I'm going to be generous as always with my dimensionals. If you've been watching my videos, you'll know I'm always quite generous with dimensionals. You don't have to be. Adhesive very much is a personal choice, you know, how you use it and which adhesive you use and how much adhesive you use. You really need to look at the different adhesives and see what works for you. I have done a video on adhesives, which I will link, and you know, it shows all the adhesives that I sell, that Stampin' Up! Sell, and I sort of talk about which ones I use and how I use them. But you know, that's just my point of view, and then you can watch that and see what I do and then make up a decision about what you want to do based on that, or not, depending on whatever you want. And I'm not happy with the placement of my basket, so I'm just going to change it slightly. There we go. Okay, now I do need to find my scissors, so just bear with me. Here they are, lovely jubbly. We're just going to cut this balloon that we've punched out of the designer series paper. We're just going to cut it in half, and then all I'm going to do, let me get rid of these backings of the dimensionals because they're getting in my way. And if you've ever used dimensionals or double-sided tape, you know the backings just seem to migrate to their own accord. So if I can get rid of them as many as possible, that's always a good thing. So I'm just going to put some snail, this is not snail, this is liquid glue, some Tombow on the back of my sentiment, and then all I'm going to do is use these two pieces here to mat. I'll show you what I mean in a minute when I can pick this up. You can see here I'm just going to decide how much I want to stick out at the edge, and then hold that down, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side, just sort of so we have the same amount roughly. Okay, like that, so you can see. And then my trusty dimensionals again. Okay, take these backings off, and I know the bottom of this looks a mess, but we're going to cut it off in a minute, so don't worry. And now I want this as if it's coming off the bottom of the card like that, so stick that down. And now we're just going to trim. What did I do with my scissors? I put them away. That was a bit silly of me. I still needed them, wasn't it? I'm going to trim the excess off there, so it looks like it's just coming off the bottom of the card there, floating up. Okay, get rid of that. So that's what we've got so far. So finishing touches are here, and these are firstly our faceted in colour dots, and I'm going to use this large one here in the Seaside Spray, just at the bottom of the sentiment there, to come up. And then I'm going to be using these Noble Peacock Rhinestones, and I'm using the blue, and I'm just going to put some higgledy-piggledy in random places on my card, just to brighten up the background a little bit. And I'm going to sort of do them and make sure that I don't have it too even. You know, I prefer odd numbers to even. Okay. And I'm not too concerned either about using too many of these, because these are more than likely going to retire soon, and if I can use them up, all the better. So there you go, that's what we just made. That's the one we made before. I hope you liked the project. If you did, I'd be grateful if you could give it a thumbs up to let YouTube know. If you want any information about the project, supply list, etc., it'll be on the blog post on my website, and the links to that and all my social media links are in the description box below. So thank you again, and until next time, enjoy being creative. Bye!